Margot Black. I am just so amazed and thrilled to see so many people come out today in the rain, and by that I mean the beautiful Portland weather. But this is really great, and I really think this is a testament for how far we have come in the last year. Portland Tenants United started just about a year ago, depending on how you count. Our Facebook page went live on September 26th. And now we have, we have politicians who are speaking our messages, who are taking the tenants of Portland seriously. We have people who are filling the plaza of City Hall on a rainy Saturday. I want to just quickly, a couple formalities, like I mentioned. There are bathrooms across the street. If you are taking any photos or anything, can you please post photos or use the hashtag KeepPDXHoused. Post on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever hashtags work. Also, your phone number or your email or your address and you want to get updates from us, the easiest way to do that is to text PTU to the number 444-999. All you have to do is text PTU, it's not case sensitive, to 444-999, and that way we can get your email and get you updated. So PTU, like I said, we started about a year ago. We have no paid staff, we have no office, we have no steady revenue stream, but we have managed to accomplish so much. We have managed to stave off evictions, we have challenged landlords, we have radicalized the conversation in Portland and the state around tenants' rights and rent control. Can I get a heck yeah? Heck yeah! And the awesome thing is that we've done that on really a shoestring, and it's because there are so many people who believe in what we're doing that they come out and say, how can I help? What can I do? I mean, even at this rally, people started showing up at 10 and said, what can I do? How can I help? And they donate their services, they donate their products, they donate their time, and that's been wonderful. That being said, we are here to launch a new campaign, and it would be helpful for folks if anybody's got a couple dollars to donate. This is my lovely daughter, London, who was 6 months old during my first no-cause eviction, and 13 during our second one. And she's just going to come around the crowd with the bear. Thank you very much, if you have a dollar to spare. So give it up for London. So, I mean, the other thing I want to say about how beautiful it's been to watch this grow and not need an office and not need a paid staff is that it really, really does take a village. And I think that it's because as tenants we are resourceful and we are industrious and we're committed to taking a village, to being part of the village and participating in mutual aid. And I think that is really what Portland Tenants United is about, is not to change the laws necessarily, even though that's what we need to talk about today, but to come together and build power as tenants, so that if the laws don't change, it doesn't matter, because we have power and we can compel the circumstances to change around us through union building. When tenants are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
When tenants are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
That's right. So we don't need the usual funding structure and organizational structure, because this is a movement and it's moving. All right, and it's moving because of all of you, because there ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
Say what? Power of the people, the power of the people don't stop.
Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
Woo! And this is working. I mean, we heard Tina Kochek champion our messages earlier this week. Because we're on the right side the rain to fight for it, all right? And what is it that we're asking for? We're asking for a rent freeze and a moratorium on no-cause evictions until we have a sustainable solution in place. And today, or yesterday, Dan Saltzman said he doesn't actually see what purpose having the city declare a rent freeze right now. He wants us to wait for the state. Can we wait for the state?
No!
That's right, all right? One more chant for you guys. Hey, hey, ho, ho, the people want rent control.
Hey, hey, ho, ho, the people want rent control.
Ho, ho, hey, hey, people want the right to stay.
Ho, hey, hey, people want the right to stay.
That's right. So this campaign is called Keep Portland Housed. We want to keep folks in their homes to stave off the housing to homelessness pipeline. We want to, this is the missing piece of the solution. That's what we're here to talk about today. And the first person who is here to talk to us today is the lovely Jamie Duhamel. Where is my lovely Jamie Duhamel? She came to our open house on January 31st, and I'm pretty sure she came to the very next meeting after that. The PTU meeting, and was like, what can I do? And she has been one of the generals ever since. So give it up for Jamie.
Well, hello, everybody. Woo, this is exciting. Look at all these people. Can you imagine what this would look like if it wasn't raining cats and dogs right now? You are amazing! Yes. You are all now part of the story of this great city and all the hundreds of people who didn't brave the rain, right? Just think about it. Like, soak it in. Look around. In the future, when historians write about the movements that made Portland better, they're going to note this day as one of the turning points in the story of tenants' rights. And it's because of you. Thank you. Yeah. So like Margot said, my name is Jamie. And this little bundle of love on my back is Galadriel. Saying, hello, Galadriel. She's actually the youngest, stop that, of my 5 children. I know, right? All of her siblings are boys, so you can imagine what my toilet bowl looks like. Right? You know who else can imagine what my house might look like? Landlords. And they're not exactly wrong. We're a lot of people to fit into a small space. And quite frankly, I'd rather be at a rally than doing my laundry. Do you know what else landlords can see in my family? One small income. And they're not exactly wrong. We don't make a lot of money to take care of 7 people, but we make it work. Do you know what else landlords can see in my family? Probable repairs and property improvements. Cha-ching. They're not exactly wrong about that either. I want my children to live in a safe and comfortable home. But I ask you, do any of those things mean that we don't deserve to live in a safe and stable home? No. Do any of these things mean that we don't deserve to put down roots? Connect with our neighbors? No. Get involved in our communities? No. But the landlords sure think they do. And for all of these strikes against my family, we're not even anywhere close to the bottom of the ladder. Because when all else fails, we have our white privilege that helped us find a home in only 2 months, as opposed to the 6 months, or the 1 year, or the several years it often takes people of color, people with disabilities, people with income assistance, people with criminal histories, and every other marginalizing circumstance out there. It is no wonder there is such an intense culture of fear around hanging on to what we have. We will do anything not to annoy our landlords, right? We'll put up with mold and holes and crime and garbage and rats, because to pick up that phone and ask for help puts us at risk. It means that our homes can be snatched out from under us at a whim. We are at the mercy of strangers who don't care about us. They don't know how cute our kids are. They don't give a crap how hard we work. They dangle our desperate desire to keep a roof over our heads in front of our face because they know that if we can squeeze that budget that much tighter, if we can find just a few more dollars for them, we'll do it. We will do whatever it takes to avoid the demoralizing, destabilizing, defunding consequences of being thrown out into this crazy housing crisis. And even if we did want to move, even if we did have the will and the money, where would we go? How would we compete with the richest and the whitest and the smallest and the quietest and the most accommodating renters out there? Do you know who has the ability to change all this right now? Do you know who has the power to keep you in your homes? That's right. We do. And it's time to tell that to the Portland City Council. That's right. It is time for the City of Portland to recognize that housing is not a privilege. It is a basic human right deserved equally by all. Tenants United recently presented a comprehensive Tenants Bill of Rights to key city commissioners and Mayor-elect Ted Wheeler. These rights state, as tenants, we have the right to rent because a home is a foundation for success, and these discriminatory screening practices are keeping us out of these homes. As tenants, we have the right to recourse because tenants should know their rights and landlords should be held accountable to the law. As tenants, we have the right to remain because housing stability has positive impacts and eviction creates chaos in our lives, our jobs, and contributes to homelessness. So these rights, in addition to comprehensive, robust, and enforceable policy solutions, are sitting on their desks in this building right now. Have they done anything to act on our behalf? No! Have they done anything to force the landlord lobby to the table to negotiate with us? No! We will stand united in this fight because while the landlords have all our money and they're using it against us, look around, people. Together we have the real power. Portland City Council is going to know who they actually work for because we will not bend, we will not waver, we will not break, and we will not cower. Until our rights are recognized by this city, we demand an immediate rent freeze and a moratorium on no-cause evictions. It is time for this city to be bold. It is time for this city to be compassionate. And it is time for this city to keep Portland housed.
Give it up for Jamie! Woo! I want to tell you guys a couple things that Jamie didn't tell us, and that's that one of the reasons she came into PTU is because when she moved here with her 5 kids, and you know, she and her husband are college educated, they have good credit, they had enough money in the bank to be able to get into another place, and they searched and they searched and they searched and they searched and they searched. And it wasn't that the rent was too high, I mean, it was that too, but it was that landlords didn't want to rent to a family with 5 kids. And she even got as far as a landlord saying, okay, you're approved, but then actually I really think this house is too small. Now, of course that's illegal, right? That's discriminating. But who do you call? What do you do? Where do you go, right? You call Fair Housing Council and wait 1.5 years for them to decide that you have a case? And that's the problem. That's why we have no recourse. So Jamie talked about the Tenants Bill of Rights, and I just want to call everyone's attention to we have some trifolds in our tent there that just enumerate what the policy solutions are. And one of them is a just cause eviction ordinance that also has some provisions for rent stabilization and asks for relocation fees when you are displaced. Where is it? There we go. And the right to recourse, which would establish an Office of Landlord and Tenant Affairs, and that would be where we could call and say, hey, I was discriminated against, and that office could respond immediately and make sure that somebody like Jamie can get into housing. And the right to rent, which I think is one of the most important things that Jamie just mentioned as well, about how, as you know, as white folks, we don't suffer a lot of discrimination in the housing process, but but people of color, people with disabilities, people with children, people who work several jobs and can't get to, can't be the first person to fill out an application. Not that it matters anyway, because the landlords will always pick who they want the best. They don't have to take the first come, first serve. The right to rent would be a standardized rental application. You would pay one fee per housing search. Standardized screening criteria and an unbiased way of picking the applicant, all right? So that people can actually get into housing and you don't have to be the person who looks the best, all right? Okay, I'm being hustled. So our next speakers are here from the Portland Association of Teachers, the union, Portland Association of Teachers. They were the first union to endorse PTU's resolution for rent control and just cause evictions. Susan Cohen is a teacher and champion for labor rights. She's the president of PAT, and she represents teachers at Portland Public Schools. And then we have Rachel Haynes, who is a teacher at Glencoe. All right, give it up for Susan and Rachel.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Cohen, and I am here representing 4,000 educators in Portland. Educators support immediate action for tenants' rights because we will not stand while another child falls victim to a housing crisis that, make no mistake, is avoidable if we act together. As educators, we are frontline witnesses to the devastating effects insecure housing plays in the life of a child and how it affects their education as well. Not only do we provide students with some of their only meals during the day, we help our students who are living in cars find ways to wash their clothes and take showers before that bell rings and they have to be in their seats. And not only do we do all this, we're also responsible for their education. Yet our homeless students bounce around from school to school, depending on whose couch or garage they call home. This makes it difficult for them to maximize the benefits that we have to offer. They struggle to form relationships with their peers and their teachers. They don't benefit and maximize from the continuum of curriculum by staying in one school. And not only does this bouncing around leave their home lives insecure, it also affects their education. We can and we must change this. We must stand together, strong in this rain, thank you, and in solidarity. We must demand secure housing for our most vulnerable populations. I'd now like to introduce you to Rachel Haynes, who's a second grade teacher in Southeast Portland, who can really help explain what a chronic problem insecure housing is in the life of our students.
Hi, thank you all for being here today. I've been a teacher in Portland for 10 years now, and I've seen a dramatic increase in students whose families are experiencing housing insecurity, food insecurity, income insecurity, and it's impacting more and more families each year. I see it firsthand, kids who can't concentrate because they're hungry or haven't had a good night's sleep or don't know what's going to happen to their family next week. I wish I could say that it's a rare occurrence to have a new student where this is their third, fourth, fifth school by second grade. But it is not. Students who have had constant interruptions to not only their education, but to the relationships they build with their friends and peers and teachers. And it's not uncommon to come to school one day and find that they're gone. Their families in search of a more stable life. I work at what is considered a middle-class school, so we know it's impacting other families and students around the city to a much more devastating degree. The longer I'm in this profession, the more convinced I am that what our kids need most is a more just community to live in, where people don't have to beg and fight for basic human rights, a place to live, 3 meals a day, a living wage, access to affordable health care, and to be treated with decency and respect. But since people do have to fight, it is vital that we teachers are on the front lines, fighting for our kids and their families and a future worth living in.
is right. We must fight for our kids and their families. We must be the ones to ensure our city and our state are a humane and just place to live. And that's why we urge you to join us in voting yes on Measure 97. Measure 97 ensures that large, out-of-state corporations start paying their fair share in taxes. It's time to make Comcast, Walmart, ExxonMobil, Bank of America pay taxes just like you and I do. And when we stand together and we work together to pass Measure 97, we can finally tackle the problems that we are facing in Oregon. We can address insecure housing for our seniors. Families won't have to choose between paying rent or health care. And we can provide our schools with 33% more money to give our students the support services they need and they deserve to be successful. We demand that our elected officials enact policies now to protect our most vulnerable populations, our seniors, and our children. Rachel and I are here because Portland teachers support tenant rights. We support an end to no-cause evictions. We demand immediate rent freeze because not another child should be forced out of their home. And we stand here together with you because together we are strong and together we can right this wrong. Thank you.
One more time for Portland's teachers. All right, I'm here today on behalf of Portland Jobs with Justice. We're a coalition of over 100 labor unions, community organizations, and faith-based groups. We're here today to stand with the tenants of Portland and to fight with you for a just and equitable solution to this crisis. We're here to call particular attention to those who are most deeply impacted by this crisis, the poor and the unhoused, those who are most likely to be relegated to low-wage jobs and to non-union jobs, women and single mothers, people of color, and the LGBTQ community. We're a year into an officially declared housing state of emergency here in Portland, and the problem is only getting worse. Nothing has been fixed. It's time that our city council do their jobs and keep Portland housed. Enact a rent freeze, end no-cause evictions, and pass a tenant's bill of rights. And we're going to organize, and we're going to fight, and we're going to win. Because when we fight, we win. 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 Yes.
Thank you, Justin. So we mentioned that PAT was our first endorser of our Portland Tenants United's resolution for rent control and an end to no-cause evictions. We also just want to give a shout out, and Jobs with Justice also. Also want to give a shout out to OEA, who is also endorsed. The letter carriers, Nurses Union, SEIU 49, SEIU 503, the Northwest Labor Council, and AFSCME. Because just as labor organizers, or just as labor unions organize workers, we are organizing tenants. And what do laborers have as their, or workers have as their leverage when their bosses won't listen to them and won't give them dignity in the workplace? What do they do? That's right, they have the strike. So as tenants, we are going to try to work with the halls of power, but if they don't listen to us, what can we do?
Strike.
That's right, all right? And it has been done before. Tenants have organized in Oregon before. They have organized under the Oregon Tenants Association in the 1970s, and most people might not know this, but renters of land in mobile home parks have pretty much all the rights that we want apart from rent control. They have just cause evictions. They have relocation expenses. They have the right of first refusal if the property gets sold. They have mediation. They have like union organization built into the statute. And that happened through forming tenant associations in a union. All right? So when I say union, you say power. When I say union, you say power. Union. Power. Union. Power. When I say tenant, you say power. Tenant. Power. Tenant. Power. Awesome. So our next speaker is Stephen Goldberg, attorney at law, who has helped us write a legal analysis to tell the city that what we want is perfectly legal. So when they say we can't do it, rent control is banned at the state, we say, we don't believe you, that was a handy excuse, but we know that you can do it. And we would love Stephen Goldberg, who actually helped organize and work with the Oregon Tenants Association in the 70s, to tell us a little bit about how change is possible.
So I bet you guys are really excited about a legal lecture right now, but instead we're going to have a conversation. I also want to tell you that I'm here as part of a group called the Portland National Lawyers Guild, which is a national organization, and we have a good chapter in Portland as well. So for us to have a conversation right now, you need to understand two things. Number one, the first thing we're going to talk about is people power. Let me hear you say it. People power. A little louder. People power. And the second thing we're going to talk about is money power. Money power. One more time. Money power. And you guys got to figure out when to put that in here. So, as Margot was saying, back in the late 70s, a group organized called the Oregon State Tenants Association. And they were representing people who own mobile homes but were living in mobile home parks. And people mostly from California corporations were coming into Oregon and buying those parks and raising rent and making it really difficult for people who own their homes to stay in those parks. So they began organizing, and they began organizing specifically around the issue of rent control. And that issue became very close to passing in certain cities like Springfield, Oregon, came really close to passing rent control, and that was because of people power. People power. Let me hear you say that one more time. People power. So, how did the state respond to that? Well, those landlords, of course, decided not to just lie low, and they devised a new strategy. They said, we're going to try to pass a law, and they did pass a law which said that local governments, cities, no longer could enact rent control. You no longer had the power to do it. The only entity that could do it would be the state, and passing it on a state level, of course, is a lot harder to do. So how did landlords how were they able to get that legislature to do it? Because of money power. What? Money power. That's right. Now, the one thing that happened is that there was an exception in that state law, and the exception was that if there's an emergency because of what's called a man-made disaster that results in a shortage of housing, then local governments like the city of Portland could enact rent control. And our position, our legal position is that that's what we have going on right now. It's because of landlords and banks that we have a man-made disaster, and that man-made disaster has resulted in a severe shortage of housing. And because of that exception, the city of Portland should have the authority to enact rent control. And the second issue is that the city should be able to put a moratorium right now, that they have the power to issue a moratorium on no-cause evictions. Now the problem is that landlords are not taking this sitting down. And even though we've come up with a legal analysis that we believe the city has the power to do this, and we've written it into a legal analysis, and we've cited other cases, the landlords have come together now, and they've hired an attorney named John DiLorenzo. John DiLorenzo is the lawyer who is constantly challenging the power of government and challenging people power. And how did the landlords get the ability to hire someone like De Lorenzo to fight this movement? What did they have? But we've got legal power. And we know that our legal position is strong. But we also know that change, certainly revolutionary change or any change, rarely happens in the courts. Every so often we get a victory. Every so often we get a good judge to rule in our favor. But when that happens, when change happens in the court, whether it's been civil rights litigation or any kind of litigation, whether it's been the amazing decisions we've had around LGBT issues and basically the legalization of gay marriage at this point, it doesn't happen just because lawyers are great. It doesn't happen because courts are great. It happens because of legal power. So when we need to be in the courts, when we need to be arguing these issues, we never, ever should forget that we've got to be in the streets demanding that change as well. We need legal power. All right, thanks.
Change is possible. Together we're unstoppable.
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 Right on. All right, our next speaker is a well-known organizer with Bernie PDX, because remember that guy, Bernie Sanders, who said, woo! Sorry about that. Just so excited about that guy. And I'm also really excited about Greg McKelvey, because Bernie Sanders gave us all hope. He gave us hope that we didn't have to, the business didn't have to continue as usual, and that politicians don't have to take money from lobbyists, and the politicians serve the people and not the money. And we won't go into the national election here, all right? But Bernie started a movement, all right? And I have seen him speak at many a rally in many places, who says, hey, you can't just show up to rallies, you gotta do the work, all right? And then when Bernie didn't get the nomination, and can I get a boo? Boo! Thanks. When Bernie didn't get the nomination, he said, hey, the movement has not stopped, all right? It wasn't Bernie Sanders, it was people, all right? So, can we give it up for Greg McKelvey?
Hey! What's going on here? Are you radicals causing problems? Yes! What, rights? Ha! Tenants don't have rights.
We are three little tenants trying to stay dry. Our landlord, Mr. Wolf, is a mean, greedy guy.
Our families just want to stay in their houses. Why are landlords being such louses?
The place, we admit, is a bit of a sty. He won't do repairs, and the rents are sky high. We're not afraid to complain, but this can't go on. It's not safe and secure here in Oregon.
Oh, you annoying peasants. I mean tenants. Stop asking me to fix things.
But my oven hasn't worked in 2 months.
You probably broke it yourself. Why should I fix it? Now pay your rent.
Not until you fix my oven.
I'll huff. And I'll puff. And I'll evict you right now! Oh good, that's one less pest to deal with. Now how about you, peasant? I mean tenant?
You raised my rent by $400. I can't pay that.
Lazy tenant, get another job! Sell your kids! Eat cat food! I don't care. Pay the rent!
That food's too expensive! I'm working 2 jobs as it is! I can barely pay the rent that you had! If you raise it again, I have to leave. But there's nowhere to go! We'll be homeless.
Not my problem. I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll double your rent! No one can stop me! Not you! Not the city council! Nobody! Our rich landlord lobby will make sure of that! Now you, little tenant, I've gotten rid of your neighbors. What are you going to do? Ha! Pay the rent!
I'm going to form a tenant union! We are going to stop you, you mean, greedy creep. I normally love wolves, but you're giving them a bad name. We are not going to let you make us poor and homeless just to make you richer. We're not going to let you bully us. And we're not going to let city council ignore us.
Are we?
We're going to fight you every day at our complex, at your house, at your job, in the streets, and at city council, and at Salem until we win. We're going to huff and puff and keep Portland house. Now let's go join this crowd.
Oh, they make good puppets.
Give it up for that skit. That was great, right? So, as Margot said, my name is Gregory McKelvey. I'm a local activist and I work in politics. This is great, right? That we came out here in the rain today. Yeah. Give it up for yourselves, right? Can you guys hear me? All right. So I think it's important for us to recognize that really we're all living on stolen land. The American tradition of pillaging, destroying, and burning communities and then building infrastructure such as pipelines or terminal ones to benefit the few at the expense of the many is alive and well here in Portland. Yeah. Portland was founded as a white utopia. It was not made for me.
That's right.
Portland was made for the Steve Noviks of the city, for those who are willing to sell out their communities for the interests of the rich. While our elected officials are keeping up one American pastime of funneling money from the rich to from the poor to the rich, taking what isn't theirs and destroying communities, another American pastime still exists that we are utilizing today. This American tradition is the use of our natural rights to push for change, to push for progress. There is nothing more patriotic than us using our freedom of speech to demand accountability from our city. There is nothing more American than using our voices to protest those who work against our communities. On July 4th, 1776, and I say this a lot, but our founders declared that each of us had certain unalienable rights. These are the rights that every single human are born with. These rights include life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The pursuit of happiness. Yet this came before the Bill of Rights. This is what we were founded upon. So I ask you, and I ask our government officials, if we get priced out of our homes, if we can no longer afford to live in the town we grew up in, if we have to choose between rent and food, then how the hell can we pursue happiness? So many people characterize those fighting houselessness as being full of lazy people. They want to dismiss us as those in society who want things without working for it. Which is odd, right? Because the dedicated faces I see here today are not the lazy people in our city. We are the people that have realized that we need to continue fighting for our right to pursue happiness. We are the people who realize that our freedom of speech is not a trophy we get to point to as a past accomplishment, but rather a tool we must use to be heard. Today we're going to be heard. They might not like what we have to say. They might not want us to be here. They might want to dismiss us as any combination of negative adjectives, but we will be heard. We don't want handouts. We don't want free stuff. We want a community that works for the people. We want politicians that are accountable to us, not developers, Comcast, gas companies, or special interests. We aren't the lazy Portlanders. We are the ones that came out today on a rainy day to stand in the cold and tell our officials that enough is enough. We are not the lazy ones. The lazy ones are the politicians who work inside this building who refuse to do what's best for their constituents. The lazy ones are the Steve Noviks, the Kathleen Taylors, the Charlie Hales, the many more politicians who are not doing their job. Our city is on fire, and they are watching it burn. Even worse, they lit it. It's time we put that fire out. It's time to stop waiting for those we voted for to actually represent us. The time for waiting is over. It's time for action. It's time for progress. So how do we do this?
Troll them on Twitter!
Troll them on Twitter. So how do we do this? Because protests aren't enough. Twitter's great, but it's not enough. Rallies are not enough. Facebook posts aren't going to get this done. It takes voting for people like Chloe Udaly, James Austin. It takes volunteering for the candidates that represent us rather than developers. We have to put the work in. We need to knock on the doors, make the calls, write to the papers. We need to fight hard because we are fighting for the heart and soul of our city. What we need is a fusion of activism and politics. We need the people speaking here today to be in the seats inside this building. Not the people that suddenly now support this. You can't fool us because we know why you support this now. You weren't here when we stood at the county and demanded change. You weren't here when we picketed the landlord lobby, but you are here today when the cameras are out mid-campaign season, but we see you. Yeah. I've been an activist here for quite some time, and I've worked in politics for almost as long, and I know for a fact how hard it is to get elected when you are up against the money. I know that Portland is rapidly gentrifying. I know the community I grew up in no longer looks the same. I know that our housing crisis gets worse by the day. I've seen our city government sweep the houseless with no remorse, empathy, or even humanity, and I refuse to watch this continue to be the path of my city. So I was born and raised here in Portland, Oregon, and I'm proud to say that. I want to continue to be proud of my city. All eyes are on Portland. We have the opportunity to be the city that others look to as a progressive model. We cannot let this opportunity slip by continuing to elect false progressives who are selling out our communities. Look into who is funding your elected officials, because the press is not going to spoon feed you the truth. The media does not have the same interests as us. It's we the people versus them the greedy. Pick your side and man your battle stations. This year we saw a man named Bernie Sanders, who I met with multiple times, take the country by storm as he almost beat out his corporate opponent. We fell short at the federal level, but we can grow our own Bernie here. We don't need to wait for a president who agrees with us. We have Chloe now and we have Off-Sync today. Now, housing is the foundational issue of our city right now. It's what divides the haves and the have-nots. Housing policies have been used to oppress people of color since Portland's inception, and today they are oppressing the rest of the city. We can't let this continue. We need to stop this yesterday. We are near the edge. We need to get the money out of politics, the corrupt politicians out of this building, the corporate greed away from our policies. We do not have time to spare. We don't have time to say our time is coming. It's now or never, and it's forever and never, so fight hard. Thank you.
Give it up for Greg. Why am I emceeing this wrong? I do not have those skills. But thank you, Greg. That is an excellent segue into our next speaker. But hey, first of all, folks, I know everyone's standing in the rain. And I just want to remind you all what heroes you are for coming out and standing in the pouring rain. We have just a couple more speakers, and then we're going to start our march. Is that okay? Is everyone doing all right? I mean, this is Portland, right? Okay. I'm just going to assume of the 500 people who are SVP that aren't here, they are from California. Sorry. So listen, Portland Tenants United does not endorse candidates. Candidates endorse Portland Tenants United. More importantly, candidates endorse our asks. They say, heck yeah. I'm sorry, kids, right? They say, you know, we have some we have some champions who are going to speak today who are lifting up our message, who believe in a rent freeze, who believe in a moratorium, who believe that politicians, elected leaders, need to take risks. They need to be bold. They need to be courageous. All right? We're going to have one here now, and when we march, we're going to have a couple others. All right? But I just want to make it real clear that we're not putting all of our faith in the halls of power, but we are very excited about folks coming into the halls of power who will champion our message. All right? So, our next speaker is Chloe Udaly, who almost doesn't need an introduction. I mean, Chloe Udaly started the Facebook group That's a GD Shed, and has been a champion of housing and tenants' rights ever since. So, can we hear it for Chloe?
Chloe, 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 Chloe.
Thank you, Margot. Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Greg, for that incredible speech and introduction. Following Greg is always tough for me because I get really emotional listening to his passion and his dedication to this cause. So, as I think most of you know, my name is Chloe Udaly, and I'm running for City Council for your families and for mine. I'm a lifelong Portlander, a single mom, and a longtime renter who, like many of you, is struggling to pay the rent. I'm also a proud charter member of the PTU, and I encourage all of you to sign up over there today.
All right.
Over the last few years, I've realized that this trend of ever-rising rents, of people being displaced from their stable homes, of children being forced out of their schools and communities, is not coming to an end. In fact, it's only getting worse. Our elected leaders have been giving away our city to property developers, home builders, and the landlord lobby for decades. Many of them take large contributions from these very entities who are largely responsible for our housing crisis, whose business model is predicated on price gouging, impoverishing, and displacing renters. We need regulatory tools like rent stabilization and an end to no-cause evictions for the same reason we need minimum wage, to stop renters from being exploited. I want all of you to ask yourselves, what has City Council done for you lately? Have they brought us, anyone want to bust out in song right now, feel free.
What have they done for us lately?
Have they brought us meaningful protections during what is the worst housing crisis that any of us have seen in our lifetime?
No!
Have they stemmed the tide of displacement of low-income households and communities of color?
No!
Have they kept up with the demand for affordable housing?
No!
No. In fact, they have allowed our affordable housing stock to decline. I'm getting worked up, people.
Working.
When you're focused on the people who can give you the biggest contributions, you lose sight of the people who can't. I'm here today to challenge every elected official and current candidate to give contributions back to these corporate moneyed interests and start doing the bidding of the people, i.e. their freaking jobs. I'm so encouraged to see all of you out today, especially on this rainy Portland Saturday. We make up 50%, at least 50% of the population of Portland, we renters. We have the people power to compel our city to do the right thing. We demand an immediate rent freeze, and an end to no-cause evictions. Let's make Portland a city that works for all of us, not just the landlords. Together we have a voice, together we have power, and together we can keep Portland housed. Thank you.
Oh, give it up to Chloe. All right, I just want to remind you guys again that you're heroes. I understand we're all standing in the rain. We're about to march, but hey, I need to, I have a surprise part of the program. It's going to go real fast. Chloe Daly, I need you to come up here. Rebecca Mosher Escamilla, Jamie Duhamel, Vicky Petrata, if you're still here, my love, please come up here. You're just coming up to stand right here. All right. Jean Favini, please come up here and stand up front. Lynn Hager, if you're here, please come up. Rebecca Webster, if you're here, please come up front.
Where's everyone?
They're all here. Lynn's coming. Rebecca Webster, Vicky's here. Jean Favini, please come up front. Yeah, there's my Rebecca, wonderful. Okay, listen, when we started this about a year ago, there were a few women around the table. Actually, there were several women around the table. And we have grown since then. And I just want to say, look, most of the women standing in front of you are not professional activists, all right? What they are is moms. And they are moms who when they get a rent increase or a no-cause eviction or a letter from the landlord, that letter is posted on their door when they come home, and their heart falls to their feet in fear. It is because they are worrying about what is going to happen to their family and their kids. And every single one of these women either has little children or grandchildren. Vicky and Jean, thank you very much. All right? And what they have done is they have shown up, and they have shown up and shown up and shown up and shown up and shown up. All right? I know we're standing here in the rain, so I don't want to say a whole lot about all of them, but I want to really recognize these women for coming out, in some cases, Listen, I don't have toddlers, and I don't have children in a wheelchair, okay? These women are finding childcare, they are paying babysitters, and they say this is important for me, it's important for my neighbors, it's important for my community, all right? And I want to recognize these tenant warrior women who said it is not enough to just like stuff on Facebook. I gotta get out there to town halls, I gotta join my neighborhood association, I gotta run for office, okay? I gotta take on every single undone task in Portland Tenants United and make sure it gets done, Jean Favini, all right? And this is what makes the organization tick, all right? We need all of you, but I want to really recognize that the people who get shit done are pissed off moms.